We begin tonight, we would like to respectfully acknowledge the University of Arizona is on the land and territories of indigenous peoples. Today, Arizona is home to 22 federally recognized tribes, with Tucson being home to the Otam and the Yaqui. Committed to diversity and inclusion, the university strives to build sustainable relationships with sovereign native nations and indigenous communities through education offerings, partnerships, and community service. Bonsoir. I figured we needed to hear a little French on a night celebrating fashion. That said, I have never been so scared than this morning when I had to get dressed, for tonight, and I hope there won't be any problem. So, my name is Alain-Philippe Durand, and I serve as the Dorrance Dean of the College of Humanities at the University of Arizona. Thank you. We celebrate National Arts and Humanities Month every October with the Tucson Humanities Festival. Through the festival, we aim to engage the community with thoughtful and sometimes unexpected encounters with the humanities. This year, the theme for the festival is style. We are pleased and very excited to have Tim Gunn join us here in Tucson for 2 Nights 7, The Poetry of Fashion. Sorry about that. Tim Gunn is an Emmy Award-winning television personality, fashion industry icon, and New York Times best-selling author. He became a household name as co-host and mentor for 16 seasons of Project Runway alongside Heidi Klum. Gunn began his fashion career at Parsons School of Design, serving as a member of the administration and faculty for 29 years. Under his direction, the department was repositioned as the indisputable leader in fashion design education in America. Inspired by the influence of Tim Gunn, we invited University of Arizona students to take on a make it work moment. We challenged them to create a fashion ensemble inspired by works of poetry. The University of Arizona Poetry Center, part of the College of Humanities, is an internationally renowned literary institution and a living archive of poetry. Founded in 1960, the Poetry Center has one of the largest collections in the country and has hosted more than 1,000 poets for readings and lectures. Sarah Kortemeyer, library director and tonight's moderator, curated the selections for the students to consider. The poems are all translated works representing the global languages and disciplines taught in the College of Humanities. The readers of the poetry include many of our humanities students who are studying in these programs. Thank you for joining us and enjoy tonight's presentation.
A slate roof, shaped out of warm mud, reminiscent of children's books. The color a mere sketch, with grass growing, a few leaves, and a chimney with smoke. In the dark room, among slumbering carp and scattered beads, again I want to be a willow twig in a jug of water.
As our arms start to fall back to our sides, we rub our fibrous skin and smell summer spreading through the air, the vibrations rising brilliantly from each tree.
No stream, no waterfall, just expanse of azure, oozing from a cavity in a meander, like a tiny transparent mirror, letting me see the internal cracks. Through meandering dark tunnels, in deep palaces.
How invisibly it changes color in this world, the flower of the human heart.
Stars around the beautiful moon hide back their luminous form. Whenever all full she shines, on the earth silvery.
I fell because of wisdom, but was not destroyed. Through her I dived into the great sea, and in those depths I seized a wealth-bestowing pearl.
Should I leave this burning house of ceaseless thought and taste the pure rain's single truth falling upon my skin?
Here, where the inner space narrows, where the westerly ray of light warms the heart, and the old and mismatched objects live together serenely.
Like a spinning coin threaded to the sun, the butterfly catching fire at the sweet basil flower.
Absence is measured by the blue of silence. Time draws new frontiers for me. The inner shadow is cast on the salt of the page. I need a time of rupture to continue that journey.
On an open field, a flowering tree stands, with no other like it nearby. The flowering tree blossoms with a burning heart, as if thinking of another flowering tree burns its heart.
I want to unfold. I don't want to stay folded anywhere, because where I am folded, there I am alive.
Yes.
Absolutely phenomenal,
Yeah.
incredible. Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Kortemeyer. I am the Library Director of the University of Arizona Poetry Center. I will be moderating for y'all this evening. We are delighted to be here with Tim Gunn.
I'm delighted to be here with you.
It is a delight to have you, truly. What a privilege.
Well, thank you.
Yes. And we're also delighted to be able to celebrate the work of all of these incredible student designers, models, makeup artists, and hair artists. Y'all have done a really incredible job. So two of our student designers are also going to be student moderators with me this evening. Yes. They have really stepped up and doing multiple things and wearing many hats. So I'd like to say a special hello to Mia Roig, who is a sophomore. A sophomore majoring in applied humanities with a fashion studies emphasis and minoring in public relations and Spanish. Doing it all. And then our other student moderator is Stephanie Raywall. She is majoring in business management and minoring in Spanish and fashion. Fantastic. So both Mia and Stephanie attended New York Fashion Week with the university student contingent last year, which seems like a big deal. And Mia is serving as a COH College of Humanities marketing intern and assisted with tonight's production. Stephanie is the president of the University of Arizona Sewing Club. So. So how this is going to work, y'all, is we're going to call the designers up in small groups. They'll have a second to present their poems and their outfits, and then we'll have time for feedback from Tim, and hopefully some time for conversation in between groups of students. So we're really excited, and let's get rolling. So we're going to start with Mia and Stephanie. Mia, how about we start with you?
Okay.
I know you really latched onto the butterflies in your poem. Tell us about it.
Yes, so when I first read the poem, in my head I saw a vision of butterflies swarming into the sun and then catching on fire. And I really tried to replicate that with the outfit. So that's why I chose gold for the butterflies, because I just wanted them to show the catching fire and the sun. And then when I was looking for a base for my outfit, I came across this gorgeous red dress, and it was floor length at the time, but I saw it and I was like, this is perfect. It's the sun that I've been dreaming of and been thinking of when I've been reading this poem. And then I wanted the butterflies to be swarming upwards towards her.
Fabulous. Tim, your thoughts?
Well, I want to say this about all of the designs that have been created. It is so easy for work that fits into this genre of being inspired by words, and when it's poetry or prose, the work can get very costumey and otherworldly. And what I love about all of these looks is they're believable. You're taking risks, you're stepping up and out, you're being extremely creative, but they're believable. And a refrain that I use with my students for years was, I don't care what your model's wearing, as long as he or she can get into a taxi wearing it. Otherwise, it doesn't count. So I just think that Mia has been incredibly inventive. There's another category that I have a kind of disdain for, which is called trying too hard. Nothing here is trying too hard. And the way that you've tempered this, Mia, because you really could have gone over the top, and your model could have had giant wings and flown off the stage. It's very much grounded in the real world, and the real world of beauty and effervescence.
Thank you.
Glorious. Awesome. Stephanie, how about you? Tell us about your poem and your outfit.
All right, so my poem mentioned the line of how invisibly it changes the color of the the color of the flower of the human heart. And so as you can see here, I just did a wide array of flowers, like going from the top to the bottom. And I kind of wanted this to represent like human heart, and also how our hearts change throughout the times, whether that's like, from childhood to adulthood to old age. We all have different types of loves throughout our life, and they all look differently. And so I wanted that to be represented in my garment. And as you can see here, each of the flowers has a little bit of a different color and a little bit of like hearts sewn onto them as well to tie those two together. And yeah, that's kind of the basis of my poem.
Fabulous.
Well, now that I know that you're president of the Sewing Club,
I forgot to mention that.
I'm assuming that you've created all of this.
Well, I upcycled the dress. I got it from a thrift store here. And
Smart.
Yes, and then I got all of these little flowers and I hand sewed them, and as well with the beading, as you can see here. And so, yeah.
Well, and it also shows a maturity in the fact that you've exercised restraint in what you've done, because just as Mia could have gone way over the top with these butterflies, you could have gone to the moon with these flowers. And she could have looked like she was coming out of Covent Garden. But it's really remarkable work.
Thank you.
I also want to say that the styling that you've done with your models is so spot on. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes. Models, if you'd like to head on down, and me and Stephanie come on over here to your seats. While we're all getting settled, I have a couple of questions to launch into. postcards there. So Tim, we're really grateful to you for helping us think about our poetry fashion show. This is an idea that I have not seen done elsewhere.
I haven't either.
Great, fabulous. We're a first. And so I was thinking about this bridge that we're trying to build between the heightened language of poetry and the heightened language of high fashion. And I wonder what similarities you see between language and fashion, or is fashion a language?
Well, fashion's definitely a language. It's the semiotics of clothes. The clothes we wear send a message about how the world perceives us. It's subtler in many ways. Well, I shouldn't say it's subtler. I was about to say it's subtler than the printed word, not necessarily, but I think it's probably more open to interpretation. And the fact that you've so stupendously married these two completely separate genres in many ways is, for me, it's a kind of lightning rod of inspiration for what I would like to do with my students.
Fabulous, that's wonderful to hear, yeah.
Because the thing about this is, each student could have had the same poem and the outcome would have been different.
Totally different, yeah. And I love the idea too about collaboration between disciplines, really being important for creativity, right?
And it doesn't happen in very many places, so my hat's off to the University of Arizona.
Thank you. That kind of interdisciplinary approach is something that I think the College of Humanities is really interested in working on. I wonder if you could speak a little bit about that, Mia.
So I'm actually in Applied Humanities with a fashion emphasis, for anyone who didn't know. So it combines both the fashion and then Applied Humanities. So I take half fashion classes, half humanities. And I think it's interesting how you can combine the two in ways that you would never think. You would never think an intercultural competence class, like I'm taking right now, could relate to fashion in any way. But when you take a step back, you can realize that fashion is in every country, every culture, and then you need to learn about what they like, what they're interested in. So I think that those interdisciplinaries definitely help.
Yeah, and the fashion means different things in different countries too, right?
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
Completely.
What kind of experience have you had with that kind of global interest?
Well, there's definitely global interest. The point of view, the point of departure for I think, maybe too many designers, is that their thinking is very parochial, it's very regional, and it's heavily influenced by their culture. And on the one hand, I applaud that, I celebrate it. Yeah, it's your culture. On the other hand, it can be a deterrent to really being global, to really reaching, I won't say all people, I think that's impossible, but really reaching most people. And I think the kind of experience that Mia is having is a testament to what can be achieved.
Fantastic, yeah, great. I'm going to invite the second group of student designers up at this point. And we'll have a little bit more chats while we're working on that. Wow.
I also just want to add, I saw the video before I saw the models wearing the clothes. And to actually see the models in the clothes and see the clothes close up, it doesn't always work that it looks better, and it actually is even more phenomenal.
Fantastic. Yeah. It really is. All right. So I'm just kind of going to go down the line and invite y'all to present what you've done here. Erica, let's hear from you. You've got this wonderful silvery outfit.
Yeah, so basically, this poem was kind of inspired by the stars. I kind of just thought about the stars and the moon hiding back their form, and then when it's transformed onto Earth, she's shining in her brightest form. So basically for the outfit, I bought this piece right here. It actually used to be a dress, and so I made it into a two-piece right here. And then I added the silver embellishments along the trim. And then kind of same idea with this piece. It was just a plain black sweater, and then I added the embellishments and then hand glued each one of these rhinestones on. So
fabulous.
Erica, may I ask you about your process? How did you approach this, and did it go through a lot of different iterations?
Yeah, well, I just knew I wanted to use black and silver in this outfit just because when I think of outer space and stars, that's, where my mind came to. But yeah, I don't know. As soon as I saw this dress and this material, I knew I wanted to use it because I love the metallics and the way it hits the light. So I thought that was really cool. And then also, because this poem is translated from Greek, I wanted to do a little bit of Greek in it. So I did get this headpiece right here and then these like Grecian-inspired heels. So
It's absolutely beautiful. I just want to add, though, it's so easy for a design of any kind, but particularly a design like this, to go sour. And it hasn't even remotely, I mean, the proportion, the silhouette, it's really superb. That requires a lot of aesthetic judgment on your part about where you're making the cuts and what the space is between the top and the skirt. And it's really masterfully done, I will say.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
I am no expert, but I'm also just admiring the fit on this outfit. I think it looks gorgeous.
Well, we should all look that beautiful.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, I'm excited for this one. Ava, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Ava, and this is my model, Brianna. So for my poem, it talked about a flowering tree. It was the only flowering tree in this area. So the top end represents that flowering tree and how the beauty of it. But then also at the end, it talks about the burning of the heart, and that is what's represented from the bottom. The bottom has an ombre of black roses that wraps around it, and that really just shows the burning heart and the lust and the reality of what really happens with the flowering tree, but what is truly accepted and what is truly seen.
Nice.
Beautiful. How did you achieve the ombre?
So I started by cutting a high-low in the dress, and I spray painted the flowers.
Okay.
I did a very light coat amongst the ones in the front. Up here on the top of the high-low, it is the lightest, and on the bottom, I did a very heavy spray paint of the black on the roses to create the ombre.
I have to say, from the opacity of the top to this diaphanous layering in the bottom, it's just a beautiful, beautiful mix.
Thank you.
It's something I can't take my eyes off of, frankly.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you
Congratulations.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Really?
Yeah. And some fierce shoes, too.
Can I just add one other
shoes.
thing? This could have easily gone costume, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
Doesn't. And that requires restraint.
So balanced. Yeah. Great. Okay, Monica, let's have you next.
Hi. I'm Monica, and this is my model, Haley. So when I first read my poem, there were just like a couple keywords like caught my eyes. Like it mentioned the waterfall, the azure, the dark tunnels, and the deep palaces. So the first thing came up to me was like the earth. So my whole inspiration was like mainly about the earth because our earth was covered like by most of the water, but we still have a lot of things unknown. So it's like the dark. That's why I chose the to use the black lace as the main fabric. And then I also designed a little bit like this mask. Like you guys, during the video, you can see it was covered like on her face like this, and then she took it off because, and then you can see the butterflies here on her makeup. And I also designed a little bit like flowers, the flowers. So it represents the vitality. And also for her hairstyle, because my poem was translated from the Chinese, so I add a little bit like Chinese elements in there, like culture elements, because it was inspired by the people like in the Asian dynasty, China, the woman, they put the flower on the woman's head and they do the brains all the time. So I kind of like combine both of them. So
that's beautiful.
That's my whole
It is.
Thank you.
Were you always intent upon using the lace?
The lace. So I got this one from the thrift store, and I make the skirt. So
It's very modern looking, because lace can be very, very fussy and old looking. And it's not old looking here. It looks crisp and modern and very, and I wouldn't even say current. I feel as though you're leading fashion with this.
Yeah, for sure. Nice. Woohoo! Thank you. That blue waterfall is so unexpected. It's great. Yeah, fantastic. And then we have Sophia, and I know you had you were pulling a theme of breaking free out of your poem. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so my poem told me the story of yearning for escape, and my model did. She broke free, and she was only able to escape with the things closest to her heart. So she is actually wearing all of her family heirlooms.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Fabulous.
Well, it's a gorgeous garment, and as are the accessories. So did anything have to be remade or repurposed, or are things as they were?
So my process was I started by finding these gorgeous Victorian style shoes. Mm-hmm. And I made eye contact with them, and I saw, I have a Victorian cameo ring that actually is a portrait of my great-great-great-grandmother. And so I thought those pieces like belong together, so that was my base. I started with the shoes and the ring, and then from there, I worked with vintage pieces, except for one piece I did rework. This piece here, the lace upper part here that's pinned, it is technically an upcycle, but there is really nothing left of what it used to be. And but this is all either 50s vintage or Victorian style used but modern pieces. So nothing was new.
The one little bit of head scratching that I have, and I'll share with you, because I'm nothing if not a truth teller about these things, is
love that.
Why does your model have a 007 briefcase?
So the slip is from the 50s, and the slip was my model's mother's slip. So this is the 60s or 70s, and that is a 60s or 70s case.
It sure
so that's
is.
why I chose it.
I would have rethought it, but it doesn't diminish my feeling about the entire garment. I just felt I needed to make a comment.
Okay. Some people have trauma from the 60s and 70s. It's okay.
Nice work. Thank you, Sophia. Awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at all these outfits, and I'm looking at the students with their, just very thoughtful presentations of what they've done, and I'm just struck by the risk that all of these students have taken to be here tonight.
I think it's why the work is so good.
Yeah, and I know that you're a person who's taken risks and is a champion of risks.
I am.
I'd love it if you could tell us about the biggest risk you ever took and any advice you have about risk taking for the students here.
The biggest risk I ever took was taking over the fashion department at Parsons.
Oh yeah.
I didn't come from fashion. I came from teaching three-dimensional design and being an associate dean, being an administrator. And I have to tell you, I was associate dean. I called myself, I was a kind of Mr. Fix-It. I went into places that needed help, though I called myself a pooper scooper. And I would say about Parsons, this place needs to stop pooping so much because I can't take much more. And quite frankly, when I was sent to the fashion department, it was initially for an acting role for a year. And it was the biggest pile of poop I had ever seen in that academic institution. The curriculum had not changed in 52 years.
It's fashion.
It's fashion, exactly. No, they were keepers of the flame. Everyone was a graduate, every leader, every faculty member. So no, this is what we did. So I remember my first faculty meeting. The first year that I was there, all that I could do was basically probe and observe, and I did a lot of both. I couldn't change the budget, I couldn't hire and fire faculty yet, or alter the curriculum. But I remember the first faculty meeting, I asked those in attendance, there were probably 50 people. And let me give you the context. I was so absolutely unnerved by the fact that students were hand sewing grosgrain ribbon into the inside waistbands of garments. I thought, what? This is a colossal waste of time. So I said, may I see a show of hands? How many of you, faculty, have grosgrain ribbon sewn into your waistbands? Every hand went up.
Oh, wow.
Everyone was working hard, but no one was working smart.
Right.
And my task was to fix it. And it was not easy, and I was reviled, and students and faculty called for my resignation, and there were 2 women's wear articles about why is he destroying this industry that we love so much? Yeah. But then in the end, it was a celebration.
Nice.
The risk-taking worked.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So my follow-up is the methods that you use to just kind of psych yourself up to take the risk and just go through with it. Like, what did you do? How can our students emulate that?
Well, in my case, as a teacher and a department chair, all that I did was ask myself, what is best for the students? I mean, sorry, faculty, I don't care what the faculty want to do. What's best for the students? And that was my guiding light.
Yes. Speaking of what's best for students, I wonder if Stephanie, you might have a question.
Yeah, I have a quick question. So since we were talking about risks, I think it was a big risk for you to take to move from Project Runway into your own show, Making the Cut, which was Project Runway was more like in the United States, and I feel like Making the Cut is global. So I was curious, how was that transition for you?
Well, Stephanie, to be honest with you, I was really in my comfort zone because when it was announced that Project Runway, which had begun on Bravo for 5 seasons and then transitioned to Lifetime A&E networks for 11, when it was announced that we were going back to Bravo, Heidi and I said, no blanking way.
You didn't want to be with housewives?
Well, we figured we'd be dressing the Real Housewives and tending bar at Andy Cohen's Watch What Happens Live. So we decided to jump ship. I have to say, with the full support and partnership of our showrunner for 11 years, Sarah Rame, whom Heidi and I both just love, adore, and tremendously respect. So the 3 of us decided to actually go out and pitch this new idea because we had wanted Project Runway to be altered in a more modern and relevant way for years. But when you have a show that's a success, people don't want to tamper with it. Yeah. No, don't do that. So it was really a moment of great flight and joy to do this. And Amazon, I just have to say, I've never worked with a smarter, more intuitive, and riskier group of people. And it's a phenomenal, phenomenal team.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you for the question, though, because people are disarmed by my answer. It wasn't a risk at all. The risk would have been staying.
Oh. Nice. I just have to jump in on that one with a follow-up, which is, so we know that Heidi is a goddess that walks among us. What is your favorite Heidi story?
I'm only hesitating because I have so many. I have to tell you, I'm still in awe of her 19 years later.
Wow.
I still get, my heart is palpitating when I'm near her. I took her hand in mine once and I looked at her and I said, Heidi, even your knuckles are stunning. I think what warms my heart the most with her is how her family comes first.
Oh.
And they are her priority and everything else follows. Mm-hmm. And I don't have an immediate family. I mean, I do, but I don't. And for me, it's, well, whatever the show wants. And I've been impressed by how she's able to diplomatically, lightly push back in favor of her family. I applaud it.
That's wonderful. Yeah. I am going to invite our third group of students up now. Cannot wait to see what we have in store. Look at this.
I just want to repeat, we have real clothes. I am so impressed.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's start off with Audrey. I would like to hear from you and see what your inspiration was for this look.
Hi, my name is Audrey, and this is my model, Keely. So my poem was about how the westerly ray of light warms these old and mismatched objects and brings them together serenely. So when I read that, I knew I wanted to add a ton of accessories and jewelry to represent the objects. So that was my first initial thought, was objects, jewelry, loaded on the outfit. So that was my first thought. And then I found a skirt and a top that had different textures to represent the mismatch of the poem. And then finally, for the westerly ray of light, I wanted to incorporate some Western elements. So like the belt, the top has a puffy sleeve, so it's a little Western. And I wanted the lights from the show to be the sunlight that's bringing it all together.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Tim, what are your comments?
I'm sorry?
Oh, I said, what are your comments on the look?
Certainly. Well, I don't want to sound repetitive, but I may be. It would have been so easy for you to have chosen the wrong items and had them not work together and have the proportions be off. And there's such harmony and balance in this while still being captivating, not shrinking into the background. It's beautifully done. And I want to add again, restraint. I have to tell you, I think this is the best group of student work I may have ever seen. Really. You know, there's one question I haven't asked anyone, and I'll ask you collectively. How much time did you have for this project?
We had I think around 2.5 weeks maybe.
2.5 weeks?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Well, it is the best group of student work I've ever seen. 2.5 weeks?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we'll have Taylor.
Okay, hi, I'm Taylor, and this is my model, Nevin. So my poem, basically, the thing that stood out to me was the scattered beads. So as you can see on her dress, there's a lot of beads. And then I decided to put them on her neck because the poem kind of made me feel really sad, as if there was something traumatic that happened. So hence the white cream dress. My vision was that she got left at the altar.
Oh.
Yeah. But and also the sad makeup. But yeah, I don't know. It was definitely a tough project to figure out, but I definitely think the beading came out better than I thought, because I didn't want it to look costumey. But I don't know. It definitely took a minute, but it was worth it.
Well, I'm just going to say, it's not even remotely costumey, and you and I talked about this backstage. You've also demonstrated an ability to use restraint and just spot-on judgment about how to do things. And I want to say about being left at the altar, things happen for a reason.
Nice. Thank you so much. All right, now let's have Noah come up.
Hello, my name's Noah. This is my model, Robin. This is my sister.
What inspired your look?
So my poem was more of an unfolding, kind of revealing yourself kind of way. So my poem was, I want to unfold. I don't want to say folded anymore. So I made this look right here. It's all one thing.
Woo!
The idea was to like, at the end it says, where I am folded, there I am a lie. So it's kind of like me mirroring the like doubts of like lies you tell yourself, like holding yourself, rather than like feeling those lies and revealing your true self of like true colors and shades and beiges or whatever color you are, but you know, yeah. That's what I wanted to go for, so.
Beautiful. Wow. Tim, what are your thoughts?
It's a beautiful design. I mentioned this to both of you backstage. The only thing that I'm a little confused by, and it's not by what we're seeing here, it's by the video. What happened to the jacket? It just suddenly disappeared.
Well, I don't know what they showed you, but there was a video on like the whole video where they showed.
Oh no, I saw it earlier.
Yeah, I think what you saw was the before, because we did like 2 shoots.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Well,
tell me more.
Oh, so I took it off. I was gonna do separate looks and then save the reveal for like the main event, but they wanted the reveal as well as yesterday.
I guess I saw the reveal because she came out wearing the black jacket. I just didn't see what happened to it.
she literally like twisted off and took it off and like all one seamless. So it was like.
Because I was wondering whether the sash, which I now know is a sash of tulle, whether that was in fact the jacket. I know it's not now that I see it in person. But it was just a surprise. It was as though you just made it disappear, which you did in a way. And beautiful job. All right, one other comment. This is the teacher in me. The back of the skirt, I would have lined it in that fabric. That's all. That's all. It's beautiful.
Also, I made the dress from fabric, and then the jacket was thrifted and added from jeans as well.
You made the dress?
Yeah.
Well, you did a beautiful job. Even more of a reason to put that pattern, that textile, inside.
Thank you.
You get a 99.99 out of 100.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming up, and we'll take you guys back to your seats.
Well, Tim, I would love to talk to you a little bit about your mantra, making it work. I've worked with the College of Humanities marketing team to plan this event, and there was a lot of times where we definitely had to...
You had to make it work.
We had to make it work. Things didn't go as planned, and I would just love to unpack that a little bit and know when and how that became your mantra.
It was probably in the 90s. I was teaching, most of my courses were 2 semesters, so 30 weeks. So I had these students for 30 weeks, and I loved it because we could do so much together. And I had a student who was working on a project that was very compelling and very ambitious. And in April, and we're doing our final presentations in May, in April, she comes to me and she says, I'm going to trash all this and start all over. I said, what? You're doing what? Why? She said, well, I don't like it anymore. I said, I don't care whether you like it or not. You have devoted so much time, energy, and creative juice into this. I'm not going to let you do that because, first of all, when you can take something that you're unhappy with and take it from being this tragedy that's all over the ground to suddenly writing it, and it's something that you now have an appreciation and admiration for, think of how much you learn. Whereas if you just toss it aside and start all over again, well, okay, you got lucky the second time, or maybe you didn't, but you didn't learn anything from the first experience other than that you don't like it. I said, you're gonna sit here for the rest of this class, you're going to offer up a diagnosis for what's really wrong with it, what you think is wrong with it, we'll discuss it, and then in turn, you're going to give a prescription for how to make it work. So that's how it started. I really believe in it, and I have to tell it to myself all the time.
To dive a little deeper into that, what would you say makes any creative endeavor, whether it's fashion or anything else, work?
It's a serendipitous consequence of risk-taking.
All goes back to that.
I think if you know it's going to work, it's already failed. You know, or it's failed in that you haven't pushed the boundaries enough. And for anyone looking at it, and in many ways, it's only the creator who truly matters. But with design, when there's generally a broader audience, it does matter. But you want people to take note and be excited for the right reasons. That's why I've been applauding this work, saying this could all have been a float in a parade. And it's not even remotely, and it's just extremely impressive. I can't tell you how many floats in a parade I've witnessed. When I hear hammers and nails in the design studio, I know we're in trouble.
Yes. I was going to say, no, you're so good. I was going to say, bouncing off of that, there are a lot of times that we can make things work, but let's be honest, there are a few fashion trends that we cannot. So I was just curious, what do you think is the worst fashion trend that you have seen so far?
I dare not utter it in this audience.
I'm scared. Let us know, Tim.
All right. I have several. But at the very top of my list, I'll say it in the form of a question. When did the legging become a pant? When did it happen?
Hard agree, yeah.
You know, I mean, I have a theory, not a theory, I have a little bromide about the monkey house at the zoo. When you first go to the monkey house, you walk inside and you shrink. This place stinks. And after 20 minutes, you think, it doesn't smell so bad. And after another 20 minutes, you think, what smell? Whereas anyone new walking into the monkey house shrieks, this place stinks. And you know that was the case with the first person who wore leggings. She walked in front of a mirror and said, I can't go out in public looking like this. 20 minutes later, she said, you know, it's not so bad. And after another 20 minutes, she looked at herself and said, I look hot. You know it.
Well, there's a lot of leggings on this campus.
I know. Oh, I see. Yeah. I mean, they're ubiquitous now.
Yeah,
so.
I hate to say it, I do wear leggings sometimes.
Of course, you know, for any of you young people, you'd be freaks if you didn't wear them, you know?
And you also, you can also wear them while you're young, and
yeah, there are a lot of things you can get away with.
Some of us will not work for ever again.
Sarah, God bless you.
Well, we'd love to welcome the next group onto the stage. Savannah, we'd love to hear more from you.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. So my name's Savannah, and this is my model, Brittany. So my poem really talked about summer and just smelling summer spreading through the air and the vibrations coming from the trees. And so I just wanted it to be summer. And so I wanted to also create something that was my style and something that I would wear out. And luckily, Brittany has very similar tastes, so she's rocking it. But essentially, I wanted to focus on flowers and the vibrations and just things blooming, have butterflies in her hair. The purse kind of is a little homage because my poem's Korean, and so the title actually mentions a fruit, which is loquats. So I added loquats to the purse and cherry blossoms because they bloom in Korea. And then I made little charms for the belt to pay homage to Korea as well. And I really like food, so they're food charms. But I spent literally the first 2 weeks just in panic mode, as designers mostly know. You have an idea, but it doesn't always work out. She was supposed to wear this skirt. It didn't work out, and it's something that I made And so it'll all come together in the end, as everyone always says. So this is what it came out to.
Fantastic.
So for 2 weeks you were in a panic?
Yes, if anyone knows me, which there's plenty out there, I just go into panic mode when I start designing. And I'm a super indecisive person, and I just go through, this is like variation 20. And so, yeah, I spent like this past weekend making this. It didn't work, and then I just came to that, so.
Well, I would never have known that. Never.
That's good.
It looks very thoughtful, very plotted and planned in a good way.
Thank you.
That bag is fantastic.
Thank you, yes.
And can I tell you too, your look is fantastic.
Thank you. Yes.
In some ways you didn't need a model. You are the model.
Oh gosh.
But the dress is really beautiful.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So stay in the panic mode.
It's worked so far.
It
so.
suits you. Yeah.
You hear that, Mom? Panic mode works.
Thank you, Savannah.
Thank you.
Joy, would you like to come up and tell us about your ensemble?
Hi. My name is Joy, and this is my model, Zoe, and the inspiration of this look came from my poem. It was very somber. I think, I don't know if anybody else thought it was somber. I thought it was. I read it when I was very sad, and I think the way that I interpreted it was a woman who was grieving, and she'd been grieving for so long in her life that she was ready to leave that grief behind. She was ready for a rupture. However, because she'd been grieving for so long, she was holding on to that grief. And so you can tell, it says the blue of silence and the grief of it. So the dress is the grief, like it's on her, she's worn it for so long, it looks good on her. However, she's ready to rupture. That's what everything beneath is, it's the rupture happening. However, she cannot rupture as long as she keeps holding on to that grief. That's why the slit was a way of like letting go of that grief or giving herself more room to rupture. However, we're still in the grieving phase.
I have to tell you, I found the poem to be very sad too. I found it was very moving.
Thank you.
And I love the color choice for the bodice of the dress because it's somber, yet what you've done with this garment and your model's poise and posture says confidence. And it's a way of really owning the grief and working through it. I think it's remarkable.
Thank you so much.
May, if you could come up.
Hello. Hi guys, I'm May. This is my model Wyatt. My poem reminded me of the feeling of like falling or stumbling into experiences that you didn't really know you were looking for, and then like fully immersing yourself in those experiences. It also says wealth bestowing pearl, so I kind of held on to that phrase and used it as the inspiration for my materials, like the jewelry and the fabrics. So, yeah.
So the garment is to represent a number of experiences?
Yeah, it's sort of an amalgamation of like all of my experiences that can relate to this poem. So.
I'm intrigued by the textiles and by the combinations.
Thank you. You know, I'm also a BFA sculpture student.
Oh,
so.
that makes perfect sense to me.
Materials are
Perfect
important.
sense.
Yeah.
All right. Because the way in which you manipulated this is very impressive.
Thank you.
Wyatt, how do you feel wearing it?
Fantastic.
Right answer.
Thank you, May.
Beautiful job.
Thank you. Thank you, May.
I hope you carry on with this, marrying fashion with your sculpture.
I mean, it kind of is a sculpture in itself.
Yeah, but it's a wearable sculpture.
Yeah, wearable sculpture.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah, if you'd like to come up.
Sarah, and this is my model, Sydney. So the lines in my poem I took the most inspiration from was it said, reminiscent of a children's book, the color a mere sketch. So I wanted to look like the dress was coming out of a children's book. So you see on one side, it's covered in pages from various children's books, as well as a couple sketches, including one of the actual dress. And then the other side, I kind of took inspiration from the Lorax by Dr. Seuss, because I grew up loving the Dr. Seuss books. And so I wanted to show the stars on the top and then the truffula trees on the bottom. And the neckline, it mentions the slate roof, so I wanted the pointed neckline to look more like a roof.
I know in general paper is heavy. When your model was coming up the stairs, I thought, is it difficult to navigate?
A little bit.
Okay. Well, it's worth it for the sake of the art of this fashion. Again, I feel a bit like a broken record. You've exercised tremendous restraint where this could have just gone over the top in a ridiculous way, especially when you mentioned Dr. Seuss. It's almost like a license to go over the top. For me, knowing your thought process from the poem and into the transition into the dress just enhances my love for it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, group 3. Oh yeah, I gotta grab the loquats.
It's shedding.
Fantastic. So Tim, I just have a couple more questions for you as we're thinking about everything we've seen here. This is the one that kind of bubbles to the top for me. The making the cut format is interesting in that it asks each of the designers in each episode to create a runway look and an accessible look, right? And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the impulse behind that decision, because I feel like all of the fashions we've seen tonight are quite accessible.
I totally agree.
Totally accessible, and in the best possible way.
Yeah.
So why bring that into the format for making the cut?
I'll be absolutely transparent. Amazon Fashion.
Okay.
Because we were selling the winning looks on Amazon Fashion, and that was never an initial plan. It happened really right before we started taping. And we wanted things that could actually be reproduced.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't want to put any constraints on the designer's creativity. So do what you want to do over here, and then let's translate it for something that's more accessible.
Excellent, yeah. I actually just bought one. It's this enormous, like, dramatic gold jacquard coat that just,
I know.
Yeah, I can just be a diva in it. Love it.
Well, you are a diva.
I wonder if you could talk a little bit about accessibility and inclusion, particularly in fashion. I know that we're making some strides here.
Not enough.
But yeah, so could you talk about how that's going?
Well, Heidi and I wanted to include models of all sizes in Project Runway well in advance of season 16, our last season together, and no one would have it. No one would do it. So we've been advocates for this for a long time, and it just is something that it's mind-boggling that people, that designers and manufacturers and retailers have been so resistant. All that's in it for you is making money. It's just so ridiculous. I did this excruciatingly horrible ABC daytime show that thankfully was canceled after 8 months, called The Revolution. I don't remember when it was. I think maybe it was 2012. And I wanted to do models of all sizes. I was the fashion person. Out of 5 hosts, one of the reasons why it failed. And ABC's executives kept saying, no, we're only having skinny size 000 models. Why? We don't want people to feel bad about themselves. The whole point is that they won't. They'll feel elevated. They'll feel validated. They'll feel that they belong in a way that they haven't. No. So get this. The last show that we taped, they agreed to let me do it. And it was fantastic. It was wonderful. And I collaborated with a couple of stylists. So we were always getting notes, even though we'd been canceled. Do this again, but do it this way. So after we did it, and it was really, it was beautiful, I got a note. Okay, now do the show again and show the audience for how it can work for people who aren't size 14 and larger. So I went up to the camera, looked into it because they have a live feed, and I said, that's the point. It won't work. That's the point. I mean, things have to be, people keep thinking, oh, you just scale any old design up or down according, because really the two most neglected populations of women are women who are larger than a size 12 and women who are petite. And the whole point is you can't just scale up or down. You have to reconceive from the onset.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for saying that.
Can I make one comment about the students? I want to say this to the students. I don't know what kind of synergy you have among you, but I want to say this. I think, and I'm getting chills as I say this, I think you could form a fabulous University of Arizona fashion cooperative and work together on creating stunning, staggering garments that the community wants to wear. Think about it. Think about it.
I feel like you're one of the few people I know of who really became a household name on the strength of your mentorship of young people. And I kind of want to know, how has your approach to mentorship changed over time?
Well, I first want to just say that I had been a teacher for many, many, many years, and I found out quickly that being a mentor is an entirely different prospect. And I learned this episode 1, basically scene 1, when I'm in the sewing room threading a bobbin for a designer who's having trouble. And one of the executive producers knocked on the sewing room door and said, Tim, can I see you for a minute? So I went out in the hallway and she said, what are you doing? I said, I'm threading a bobbin. So-and-so's having trouble with it. She said, if you thread this bobbin for her, you have to thread the bobbin for every designer, every episode. And I said, I'm out of here. She said, it's a fairness issue, and I understood it. But I think that initially with Runway, I felt this huge sense of responsibility for what I said, in terms of whether they would succeed with this project or in fact go home. And I was beating myself up and blaming myself, and I thought, wait a minute. I'm not taking credit if they win, and I shouldn't blame myself if they don't. And what I would say to the designers every single time I was in the workroom is, I'm one voice, I'm one point of view, you have to listen to your own voice. And that's all that I ask for. Don't do something because I said that I thought such and such should happen. Like, Noah, don't change that fabric in the back of the dress.
Yeah.
So you just, I mean, all of you, all of us, we just have to, well, and this is important, accept responsibilities for our decisions. Don't blame them on anyone else.
Going off a little bit about that, do you have any advice for any young people on how they can discover their own voice?
Well, I think everyone has a voice. I think some individuals are able to tap into it better than others. And I think things happen in their own time and when they should. And I don't mean to be fatalistic about it as much as I don't think there's a set pathway for achieving that. I think we all come into it in our own. And I studied fine arts, I studied sculpture, and I didn't really find my own voice until many years after I left school. And I didn't know I hadn't found my own voice. Once I found it, I realized, oh, okay, it wasn't that the other things were false as much as, well, because everything advances the plot, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. And if you take anything away, it changes everything that followed. And I don't want to change anything. I mean, we each are who we are because of the experiences that we have and what we learn or don't learn. And we just have to assimilate that and process it and do what we need to do with it.
Absolutely. I wonder even if have you experienced finding multiple voices over the course of your career? Because I always wonder, do I have just one voice, or am I just
I think we have
people?
multiple voices,
Yeah.
depending upon the role that we're playing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we just want to, basically, you want to be true to yourself. And if you're some horrible, brutal thug, then okay, do that. Don't pretend you're something else, because I may be seduced into a place I don't want to be in because I find out you're a horrible, brutal thug.
Well said. Thank you.
I have a quick question. So I remember on Project Runway, there was always the Tim Gunn save for that one person who got taken off or, sent back home or was going to be sent home. So I was curious if there was a common quality that you saw amongst all of your Tim Gunn saves that drew you to them to pick them.
Well, it actually happened as a result of season 11.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle was one of 4 designers still standing, and she was eliminated. And I broke the 3rd wall and went to the judges and said, you cannot send her home. She's maybe the most talented person here, and this is an error. You have to keep her. And you don't hear that conversation on the show, but then the judges decide to save her. And the difficult part here was that we were sending each designer away to a non-US city. And I said to the judges, so we don't have Tokyo or we don't have Berlin. She's in New York, she can stay here. So it was beginning with season 12 that it began. And for me, I mean, I have to say, as long as the designer is good, and by the time we get far enough into the show that the Tim Gunn save is a prospect, I trust that they're good. And I'm just going to be candid. For me, it's really emotional.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thought of losing this designer just makes me want to weep. And sometimes I did. And it was really an honor to have it and to be able to use it.
And that shows how close you are with your mentors and the people that you mentor, because if you get emotional about that, that means that you care, and that's something that's super important that
well,
not that
when
many
you watch
people
the
do.
show, you think I'm in and out of that workroom in 10 minutes.
I was going to ask about this.
No,
I have a complaint about Runway, which is that we never get enough of your critiques. We get the TLDR.
For the poor designers, I'm sure they're saying, get him out of here. I'm in there for probably, when we have 16 designers at the very beginning, I'm in there for close to 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a long time.
It's like 30 seconds.
And I'm totally unaware of the cameras. I'm just there for them.
Mm-hmm.
So we have our conversation as long as it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do designers ever push back hard? Or do folks get stubborn?
It's rare.
Yeah.
It's rare. And I'll be blunt. It's something I would say to all of my students. There's one quality that will never serve you well, and that's stubbornness. You don't let anything in. It's your way or the highway, and it doesn't work. So for those designers, they would usually be quickly out. And I have to add too about my mentoring. I never ever want to tell the designer what I'm thinking or even seeing. I want to probe and prod enough that they see it without my saying anything, because then they have a kind of epiphany. Oh, I see what's happening, and I don't have to say a thing other than get them to that point.
Yeah.
That's the greatest joy for me.
Yeah, and that's really true across art forms, I think. This idea that we learn by seeing it ourselves.
Yes,
It's not
exactly.
like therapy. Why is art therapy? Oh boy.
But it is a kind of therapy.
Yeah,
I mean, it's certainly
it is.
therapeutic.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I always say for me, nobody needs me to write poems, right? I best be having a good time while I'm doing it, but I have to do it. I feel like that's true of creatives. We have to do it.
You just have to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you love doing it.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. So I just have one final question for you, Tim.
Okay.
I'm wondering if you could sum up the style of Tucson for us?
Well, I've only been on the University of Arizona campus.
We're very styling here.
Yeah, and in the airport. So, if you want style tips, I wouldn't visit the airport. I would visit this campus. I've been so buoyed up by the fact that there's something for everyone, and students and faculty and administrators appear to care about how they present themselves to the world. Again, it's the semiotics of clothes. And everyone looks very polished, I have to say. I do.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah. You know,
we're all nervous.
It might be because you're here, Tim.
yeah, we're spiffing it for you.
I have to say this handkerchief and this little cough, it's allergies, it's nothing else.
Yeah.
No, I also want to add, and this is kind of obnoxious, but this dissolution of dressing, this dressing down and wearing sweats everywhere, I won't include leggings.
I
wear the
appreciate that of
leggings,
you.
at least leggings fit. But I really attribute it to a catalyst behind a lot of just bad behavior. When people are dressed up, they behave better.
I think you're right.
They just do.
Don't just have your mind blown by things like that. Yeah. I never thought of that. That is absolutely true.
I was gonna say, like, clothing brings a lot of confidence, and like, for example, even like me today, like coming dressed up like this, you know, like got me in the mood. I was like, okay, I'm ready to do this.
And
I'm ready to talk.
look ready. You look ready to conquer the world.
Thanks, Tim. So do you.
But it does make a difference.
Yeah, it changes your attitude for sure.
It does.
And when people say to me, well, I don't want to be uncomfortable. Well, I'm not comfortable in my suit, but I'm also not uncomfortable.
It fits.
And
Yeah.
if you want to dress to feel as though you never got out of bed, don't.
Just don't get out of bed.
Yeah. Just don't get out of bed.
Words to live by.
Yeah.
Either get in bed or stay in bed.
There were pajamas on my flight here.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
No,
Did you wear a suit?
I didn't.
Oh.
no.
That was
Sarah.
about to go horribly wrong.
If that ever happens, shoot me. Right
Noted.
It means it's over for me.
Well, I'm curious, do you wear a suit to the airport, or do you have a more like casual?
I used to. I'm now dressing down.
Okay.
I'm wearing a blazer or a sport coat, a proper shirt and tie, and usually a pair of dark wash jeans.
I was gonna say, I noticed that today.
Yeah.
Earlier, you were wearing some jeans. I was very shocked.
So you're still dressed up, but you're not overdressed.
Yeah. Yes. Comfy, polished, and confident.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You never know who you might see at the airport.
So true.
And you
Tucson
don't.
International.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a great note, I think, for us to close up on. So I'm going to give us a couple of housekeeping details, and then we are going to call these wonderful student designers back up to the stage to say thank you for a wonderful evening. So thank you all for joining us tonight. We really hope you enjoyed the Poetry of Fashion with Tim Gunn. So we very much hope we will see you at our next Tucson Humanities Festival event. This will be Tuesday, October 17th with Nabil Ayers, who is the author of My Life in the Sunshine, Intersections of Family, Music, and Race. More information on all of the festival events is available in the lobby and on the website, humanitiesfestival.arizona.edu. Student designers, please come on up and be recognized.
Beautiful job. Is everyone all right? Beautiful job.
I'm behind you.
Thank you. quite a crowd up there.
A lot of people.
A lot of great looking people.
Thank you to Tim Gunn.
Thank you, Tim.
This has been a huge honor.
It's
And
been
a lot
an
of
honor
fun.
for all of us. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. We'll see you next time.